All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most common, most stubborn, and honestly most damaging ideas about how the economy works, and that's the belief that it's all just a fixed pie. I mean, just think about that for a second. In any transaction, any business deal, anytime you hear a success story, does that mean someone else had to lose for that person to win? This very question, well, it's at the heart of everything we're about to explore. It really all comes down to two completely different ways of seeing the world. On one side, you have the zero-sum game. That's where life is just this constant battle over a limited pile of resources. But on the other side, you have the positive-sum game. This is the idea that when we interact, we can actually create new value, making everyone better off. This right here, this is that fixed pie mistake in action. It's this idea that feels so intuitive, right? That there's only so much wealth to go around. So if my slice of the pie gets bigger, well, then your slice must be getting smaller. But what if that entire assumption is just fundamentally wrong? Okay, so let's put a formal name on this fixed pie idea. It's more than just a simple mistake. It's what you might call a cognitive glitch, a kind of mental tripwire that messes with how we think about everything from international trade to our own careers. So here it is, the zero-sum fallacy. It's this mistaken belief that economic value is just constant. It's a worldview that completely ignores the most powerful forces in human progress, our incredible ability to invent, to specialize, and to work together to create something totally new. So let's break down what this way of thinking assumes. If you're caught in this fallacy, you see wealth as a locked treasure chest that never gets any bigger. Every interaction becomes a battle, a tug of war. And if you see someone else climbing the ladder, it feels like their rise must cause your fall. It traps you in a worldview where someone else's success feels like a threat to yours. But if it is a fallacy, why is it so incredibly common? Why does it feel so intuitive? Well, as it turns out, this isn't just a simple mistake in logic. It's a glitch that's kind of hardwired into our brains. And let me be clear, this has nothing to do with being smart or not. It's a cognitive bias, a mental shortcut our brains take to try and make sense of a really complex world. And a lot of the time, we don't even realize it's happening. This quote really gets to the heart of it. For most of human history, our ancestors lived in small tribes where resources, well, they were often fixed. There was a limited amount of food, limited territory. That zero-sum threat logic was a survival mechanism. The problem is, our brains haven't quite caught up to the modern world, a world of incredible abundance and growth. And this is how we fall into the trap. It's a bit of a chain reaction. It starts with our ancient brain seeing scarcity all around us. That perception then kicks in a win-lose bias, where we start to frame every single interaction as a competition. And then, here's the kicker. When we're faced with evidence of actual growth that contradicts this belief, our brains can resist it, doubling down on the fallacy. It's a pretty powerful psychological loop. Okay, that's enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. How do we get past fighting over the same old slices and actually start baking a bigger economic cake for everyone? This is the big question, isn't it? If we're not just stuck fighting over scraps, what's the actual recipe for making the whole pie grow? Well, the answer really lies in three key engines of growth. First, there's value creation. Think about turning simple sand into a powerful microchip. You're not just rearranging wealth. You are literally creating it from almost nothing. Second is voluntary exchange. When we trade freely, both people walk away better off than they were before. And third, the ultimate multiplier, human ingenuity. A single new idea or technology can expand what's possible for all of us. So what's the big deal? Why does this matter so much? Well, because when this fallacy infects our policies and our culture, it has some really serious real-world consequences. Take the lump of labor fallacy. This is that classic zero-sum idea that there's just a fixed number of jobs out there. But what reality shows us time and time again is that technology doesn't just destroy jobs. It creates entirely new industries and roles that we couldn't have even imagined a generation ago. Or how about the trade fallacy? This is the one that sees global trade like some kind of sports match, where one country wins and the other loses. The reality is that voluntary exchange lets countries specialize in what they do best, creating more total wealth and value for everyone involved. It's a classic win-win situation. And here's the bottom line. A zero-sum mindset, it leads to things like protectionism and quotas, and just general mistrust. And the irony is, that actually creates a negative sum game, where the entire pie starts to shrink. But a positive sum mindset, one that's focused on collaboration and innovation, that's what creates the win-win scenario, where the pie genuinely grows for everybody. So the goal here is to consciously shift our perspective. It's about retraining that ancient part of our brain and adapting a new and, frankly, a much more accurate way of seeing the world. This is what we call positive sum thinking. And this isn't about some kind of naive optimism. No, it's a strategic framework. It's about recognizing that the fastest path to growth isn't fighting over what already exists, but collaborating to create what doesn't exist yet. So, what are the key things to walk away with? First, remember, the economic pie is not fixed. Value is created. It's not just divided up. Second, voluntary exchange is a win-win, not a win-lose. It's a partnership, not a battle. Third, the real engine of growth is innovation, our amazing ability to come up with new ideas. And finally, maybe the most important thing, the most powerful tool you have is your own mindset. Shifting from zero-sum to positive-sum thinking unlocks a whole new world of opportunities. So I'll just leave you with this final question to think about. Imagine all the energy, all the creativity, all the resources that we spend fighting over the existing slices of the pie. What could we build? What huge problems could we solve if we redirected all of that effort toward one common goal, baking a much, much bigger cake together? That's all for this explainer. Thanks for tuning in.